and welcome to Ask Your Academic. Today's session will cover the MSc Biotechnology, the MSc Biotechnology Management, MSc Chemical Biology and the MSc Stem Cell Engineering for Regenerative Medicine. We're joined by our programme leads and they're here to answer any questions you may have about the programmes that they run. A number of questions have been submitted already, so we'll do our best to cover off all of those. If during the session you have any additional questions, you can pop them into the chat box and I'll keep an eye on that and we'll answer as many as we can get through. If you've got any questions specific to your application, funding, scholarships, etc., I'll pop in some helpful links for you to follow up on those. And if after the session you have any questions, you can get in touch with our administration teams. And those details can be found on the programme web pages on our website, near the top in the blue box. We are recording the session today, so if you miss anything, you'll be able to go back over that and I'll send that out over the next few days. So we only have half an hour, so if we could have our academics introduce themselves and give a little overview of the programmes they run, that would be brilliant. Catherine, would you like to go first?
Yep, sure. So hi there, my name is Catherine Berry and I am the lead for MSc in Stem Cell Engineering for Regenerative Medicine. So the actual course itself is 12 months full-time over 3 semesters. So the first semester we have a couple of core courses. The second semester we have some optional courses and core courses, and in the final semester you will do your research project, which is entirely wet lab based. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Brian?
Good morning, good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. My name is Brian Smith and I'm the director of the Chemical Biology MSc programme. So the structure of the course is very similar for all of the MSCs. So the talk component runs through from September through to around about this time of year, to May. We have in the MSc Chemical Biology programme, it's delivered jointly with the School of Chemistry. So roughly half of our courses are run by leads in chemistry. We cover things that include molecular biology techniques, some biophysics, and some organic synthetic chemistry applied to biological problems. So that's the core content. And again, a research project that runs through the summer, starting around about now and finishing towards the end of August.
Cheryl.
Hi everyone. My name is Cheryl Woolhead. I am the program director for the Biotechnology and Management MSc program, but also teach on the MSc Biotechnology program, so can answer any questions about that today as well that you might have. In terms of program structure, as Brian and Catherine have just said, we work on a 3-semester system where the first 2 semesters are taught and the third semester involves a project. That can be a lab-based project or a systematic review project. The Biotechnology and Management program, we have one of those semesters where you will learn with the Adam Smith Business School with other students who are doing management-based degrees, and one semester with us in the College of Medical, Veterinary and Life Sciences doing biotechnology. And then with the project, you actually get a choice of whether you take a management-based dissertation or a biotechnology-based dissertation. So those are your options with that particular program. And just to say one additional thing, that all the students within this cluster of programs will work together on some courses, and some courses you will have individual chemical biology or stem cell regenerative medicine engineering type courses, and some you will have biotechnology courses, and some you may have optional courses which work with other programs as well. So we work together as a cluster of courses, and so you may see any of us at any one particular time for some of your stuff. Okay, Naomi, that's fine. Want to ask any other questions?
Thank you. Emma, we'll not leave you out. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Emma Laird. I'm the Programmes Administrator for the MSc in Biotechnology, Biotechnology Management and for Chemical Biology. So throughout the academic year, if you have any questions about your assessments, if you need any extensions or things like that, I'll be your contact.
Thank you. We've been asked a few questions about assessments, so can you tell us a wee bit about how students will be assessed throughout the programmes? And I think this one kind of covers everything. So Catherine, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, sure. So there's a variety of different assessments. So the 2 engineering courses that you do, which are 10 credit courses, one's on biophysics, cells and systems, and another one is on scaffolds. So learning how cells can be cultured in a 3D environment. So both of those actually have in-person exams that you do. You also have, with a combination of those courses and the more biological courses, we have essay writing, we have presentations of posters, we have group presentations where you work together in a group on a particular project and you'll present that to the class using PowerPoint. We also have labs that you write up, and there's also a component called a reflective diary in one of the courses that you will do. So there's a whole host of different ways that we assess you. So if you're perhaps confident in one, you can learn how to be better at others. So it covers all bases. So all students who are good at writing or perhaps good at presenting get to show what they're good at and get to improve other skills as well.
Thank you. And Brian?
I think Catherine's covered pretty much everything there is to say there. We use a broad range of techniques for assessment across the year, similar range of types of assessment for MSc Chemical Biology.
Thank you. Cheryl, I don't know if there's anything you want to add?
No, I think that's the same for everything.
Perfect. We had quite a few questions asking about the project element of the MSCs. Could you tell us a wee bit more? So applicants were asking maybe how they pick their topic, or are they picking from a selection, how they're assigned a supervisor? And I imagine it's similar maybe for all the programmes, if somebody wants to answer that one.
I can give a bit of an overview, but I think it's slightly different for both for chemical biology and stem cell engineering. So for the biotechnology program, we have a list of titles of projects which have keywords associated to them, which you can identify with aspects of your particular course, which you find that you maybe have an interest in. So we give you a list, which will probably come out in maybe February, I think, next year, 2024, and you can pick a top 5 of potential projects that you're interested in, listed in a ranked order. All the students on that program will be able to do that, and then we will distribute the project space to try and get as many people as possible the top 1 or 2 choices within that list. For the Biotechnology and Management program, as I said earlier, you can also opt out to do your project directly with the Adam Smith Business School. So that would happen around that time as well. You decide that you wanted to do that rather than be part of the list, which all the biotechnology students would get. At that point, you will then get, hopefully your project distributed to you in sort of about April time, and then, as Brian said earlier, you would start your project about now. So the middle of May is potentially when you would start your project with your specific supervisor, which you've been assigned to at that point. I'm going to maybe Brian go first, and then Catherine. They have maybe slightly different, because they're using different skills in science and engineering as well to use their projects. Brian.
Thanks, Cheryl. So, I mean, in principle, our plan is quite similar. We offer the students a choice from a menu of projects that we've gathered from potential supervisory teams. We generally try and make the projects a joint between somebody in life sciences or biology and somebody in chemistry, so that you're really getting that true chemical biology interface experience that the program is intended to fulfill. So currently, with the numbers we have, we've been able to offer students a choice of 3 projects with sort of detailed descriptions, and then we do a kind of matching exercise to make sure that most people, so far, that we've been able to offer everybody one of their first 3 choices for their allocation.
Yep, and for stem cell engineering, it's very similar. So you start your 10-week project about now. We've got the students just in the lab this week, actually. They started last week with training and they're in this week. So the range of supervisors who offer you projects, you will all meet in semester 1. We all lecture to you on a stem cell engineering course. So you'll get to meet all of us, and you'll get to see a little bit about our research in semester 1. And then you'll meet some of us, but not necessarily all of us, through in semester 3. And that's when we put together a menu, just like Brian said, of choices, and the students always get pick their top 3, and they've always got their top 1 or 2 so far. You should know your supervisor already, because they will have lectured to you, and you can go and meet them if you like, or you can just put forward the ones you are interested in. And there'll be a range of things through from engineering, bioengineering, scaffolds, and all of them will be related to stem cell culture in some way.
Thank you. And we've had a few questions about what sort of jobs that graduates go on to after their studies. Have you got some examples maybe from the different programmes that you teach on? Cheryl?
Yeah, so for biotech, I would say we have quite a large variety of what people will go on to do, and that will maybe be different in the other two programs represented here, because I think slightly smaller cohorts. So from biotech and biotech and management, some people go on to do PhDs. That's a possibility. Some people go on to do further study in other areas. Some people go to work for government agencies. Some people will go into industrial biotech research. Some people have gone on to work in education and the delivery of other educational courses, be that in teaching or in short courses. So there's really a variety of things that people have been doing. As far as the sort of industry they're going into, some people are going into sort of pharma industry, but some people will go into agricultural industry, depending on what they decide to tailor their biotech program into. So because you have some optional courses within the biotechnology program, you're able to take different sort of routes of specialization within what you're doing within your program. And you should do that when you think about what you want to do for your future career. Just before I let the other two come in, I would say that also during your year here, it's quite a fast year. It seems like it'll be a long time, but you're very busy and very active doing courses while you're actually in Glasgow. And you'll already need to be thinking about what you're going to do when you leave, when you sort of start to arrive, because you want to maybe start making applications and start applying for things and going to job fairs during the year here. So you will actually have an interaction with our careers service. They'll be able to help you in terms of CV writing, making applications, going through the application procedure at places. You'll also have the access to various science fairs and recruitment fairs, which will take place in Glasgow as well. So you'll be exposed to a lot of different things. And within some of the different courses, you will have external experts that will come in and speak to you. So take those opportunities, get involved, and try and find what your particular direction will be when you leave. But that's really for the biotech side. I'm going to let maybe Catherine, if you want to come in and talk about anything to do with stem cells.
Yeah, sure. So this will be the 5th year we've run the programme, and so far looking at exits to see where students go afterwards, I'd probably say about 60% of the students tend to go on to do PhDs afterwards. And we try and help people who are interested in PhDs. We always give you a little questionnaire when you start to get an idea of what your background is, why you're doing this master's and where you want to go. Because some people come and they don't actually want any interest in a PhD, but as they develop an interest in research, they tend to want to go on and do one. So for those students, a lot of the positions they can apply for in the UK and Europe and out with Europe tend to be in January, February and March the following year. So when you start in 2024 in September, in that first semester, I usually do a careers talk with the students that are interested in PhDs to explain the different types and where you apply and how you apply. So you're ready to apply for them if you are, like Cheryl says, thinking ahead, because if you wait till the summer, the following year, a lot of them have gone. So it's good to be prepared early. And the other kind of 40% of students tend to go, we do have some dental students and medical students, so they tend to go back to their home countries and take the knowledge they've got. And some of them are starting up research groups there, or some of them are going back into clinics and taking the knowledge they've got. And within that 40% as well, some of the students are going on to work in, as Cheryl said, related industries. So they kind of gather more knowledge, get a bit more project experience in the 3rd semester, where they do a bit more hands-on work, and then they can take that forward for applications, which tend to be later on. So PhD applications early in the year, January through to April, and industrial placements or project jobs tend to be later on in the year. So yeah, that's pretty much where our students go. Let's pass you to Brian.
Thanks, Catherine. So very similar story with us. I mean, it's only the 3rd year of our MSc in chemical biology program so far, but the majority of our graduates so far have gone on to do further research, either as PhD students or into pharmaceutical industry in research positions. That's the majority position, but we'd hope that the training that we give you would equip you well for all the other kind of roles that Cheryl mentioned as well. You get plenty of enhancing your transferable skills opportunities, as well as the more subject-specific stuff.
Thank you. We also had a few questions asking about, is it possible to work while you're doing an MSc? Would anybody like to take that one on?
I can take that if you like. Oh, sorry, Brian, you go ahead, Brian, you go first.
I'm happy to take it, but I'm sure it's the same message. So as Cheryl mentioned just a short while ago, the MSc programs here are quite intensive. They're intended to be full-time. So it's difficult to work, to do a significant amount of work while you're studying here without compromising your academic studies, I think. There are some opportunities for a limited amount of work, sometimes within the university. And of course, that will depend a bit on your visa status as well. If you're coming from abroad, from some countries, you won't be allowed to work by the Home Office here, I'm afraid. So there's maybe the opportunity to do a little bit of work on the side, but certainly don't plan to fund your stay here by working at the same time as studying, would be my advice.
Yes, I would exactly just back up what Brian has said. It's a full-time degree. You're expected to be working full-time on your studies, and there will be a small amount of time for a little bit of part-time work. But again, that will depend on your visa status. But as Brian says, exactly, don't intend to rely on it. Okay, Naomi.
Thank you. And is there any preparations that students can make before they start in September?
Want me to take that one? Catherine, you go first. And
No, so I was just going to say, sometimes if you're definitely coming in September, you can email me in advance. I've got a few they're just start-off papers to give you an idea of stem cells and tissue regeneration. That's all. I wouldn't ask for any more than that, because the courses will teach you everything you need to know within that kind of realm. So I can give you a little bit of information. So if you are definitely coming in September, you're signed up and you're coming, if you email me probably about a month or so before, then I can give you a little bit of literature that might help you understand more about the course.
So chemical biology, sitting as it does at the interface between two disciplines, which share a lot in common, but often students have got experience either in the chemical side of things or in the biological side of things. It's quite a good idea to make sure that you understand, go back to your undergraduate learning in the subject that you feel less strong in. To help with that, we publish a reading list for kind of pre-reading list, if you like, in order to allow you to give you some guidance about the kind of things that we expect you to have a good grounding in the both sides of the subject. And so we typically publish that. You probably wouldn't normally see that until you enrolled in the university sort of late August, early September. But if you're intending to come to MSc Chemical Biology and you'd like that information earlier, then please do get in touch. I'm very happy to pass that information on to you. The sooner the better, quite frankly. Yeah.
Just obviously in alignment with what my colleagues have said, I would say that you obviously, if you're coming to postgraduate study, you do have a good quality undergraduate degree to gain an offer from the University of Glasgow. So we know that you actually have an undergraduate study up to that level. I think it's important if your undergraduate degree is maybe not directly in the discipline that you're studying here, that, as Brian has said and Catherine, just brush up your knowledge in those particular areas you maybe feel a little bit unsure of. I often get asked what textbooks we recommend. I would say that at master's level, we do not tend to recommend textbooks. As Catherine has said, it's really important to read papers and stay up to date with the current literature. At master's level, we're teaching you the sort of cutting edge of technology in these particular areas. And so we don't tend to be reliant too much on textbooks, which tend to be a little bit out of date. And so I would say, have a look at, for biotech, have a look at Nature, Science, some current journals, have a browse about what the current interested topics are in those areas, and have a look at what is current in the news and what's current in sort of published journals at the moment. Yeah, as I said, we wouldn't really recommend textbooks at this time. Just brush up on your undergraduate knowledge so you're prepped to come with what you've done beforehand.
Thank you. And a couple of sort of project-specific questions we've got. One for yourself, Catherine, is would the MSc Stem Cell Engineering for Regenerative Medicine be considered an engineering course?
No, no. So it's a cross-college program. So it's run by Medical Veterinary and Life Sciences, MVLS, which is where I'm based. But we work in conjunction and collaboration with COSI, College of Science and Engineering. And out of the whole 120 credits that are taught, only 20 credits are actually engineering courses. But those two 10-credit courses, they are a bit challenging. So typically when people apply for this program, I check their kind of background and make sure they have a little bit of knowledge, or perhaps are familiar with a little bit of bioengineering, to make sure that they're comfortable with it. So the actual projects that you select are all biological based, but there may be, for example, we do a lot of work with stem cells in 3D tissues or 3D scaffolds, like a hydrogel, which is similar to a contact lens or something that you might use in your eye. We can make them different stiffnesses and different material properties. And that's where the engineering comes in. We use that engineering knowledge to kind of make something that's stiff if you're making new bone tissue. But if you're making something else, like you're working with neurons and it's brain tissue, it'd be softer. So that's where the mechanical side comes in and the engineering. So you'll need, if you're selecting a project like that, there is a bit of an engineering knowledge that you will need, but nothing you shouldn't have already learned previously on the actual courses that you're doing.
Perfect, thank you. And then there was one for yourself, Cheryl. Would it be possible to upgrade my PG DIP Biotechnology and Management degree in MSc post? It's an MSc post completion of PG DIP. Does that make sense?
I'll give that a go, Naomi. If the degree is from the University of Glasgow and you have a certificate, is that what you said, or a diploma?
PG DIP.
Yeah, a PG DIP. Yeah, just contact me directly, I think, about that question. Yes, it is possible. If it's not from our institution, then we would do advanced prior learning and have to maybe have a think about the credit rating. But if it's from the University of Glasgow, yes, that is possible. But I would just say contact myself or Emma maybe directly, and she'll be able to give you some guidance.
Perfect, thank you. And then a couple that have come through in our Q&A is there a possibility to change the MSc that they've picked originally before they sort of start in the semester? So I'm assuming they've applied for one programme, but they're considering changing to a different one. I'm assuming that would be a separate application, would it not?
I think you need to contact admissions. Yeah, because we have limited numbers on our programs, and so we can't just necessarily flip people across easily. But if you've made an application already, contact admissions, and they would say whether you actually have the qualifications for the different MSc.
Perfect. And then another for yourself, Cheryl, in the Q&A is, what are the pros and cons when doing the MSc Biotechnology and Management compared to the MSc Biotechnology?
Well, they're two different programs. So I would say it depends what your interests are. Biotechnology and Management gives you a very specific training in business management. So you would do courses in project management, operations management, HR management, and a few others as well in there, which give you that specific training in the management side of biotech. And so people who go to work for biotech companies, I would say about a third of them end up working in the lab at a bench. And if that's your interest, then you might want to think about doing the straight biotechnology degree. If you want to do anything else within a biotech company, so if it's quality assurance or if it's into something like operations or program management within a biotechnology, then you might think about wanting to do the biotechnology and management degree. So the way that the programs work at the University of Glasgow, as I said it before, in the taught component, 60 credits are management for biotech and management, and 60 credits are giving you experience in sort of the biotechnology area of what we're doing within our College of Medical Veterinary and Life Sciences. With the biotechnology degree, the straight degree, you do all 60 credits in College of Medical, Veterinary and Life Sciences. You'll learn maybe some more practical skills, you maybe do some more lab work, and you will do a larger extent of biotech in there. If you're thinking about doing something more, as Catherine has talked about, like a PhD and a research degree in the biotechnology area, then you probably want to do the MSc Biotechnology degree rather than the management degree. But if you're thinking about taking a career in going into a management discipline, then the biotech and management degree is more what you want to do. So they're very, I can't really tell you pros and cons because it's just pros about everything, really. But it depends really what you want to do for a career, and think about that, you know, yourself, or how you want to tailor what you do for your MSc. As both Brian and Catherine have said, it's a short program, it's an intense program, 1 year. It's not like doing an undergraduate degree. So you're really taking an MSc to take you from your undergraduate degree to where you want to be in your job. So that is really the reason for doing a master's program. It's a 1 year intense program, which catapults you from the undergraduate portfolio, whatever you've done, to wherever you want to be to look for your career. So, you know, those are two programs that start maybe at the same point, but send you in different directions. So think about what you want to do. Feel free to email me about either degree if you have questions.
Thank you. And that's 12:30, which came very quick. So I don't know if anybody's got anything that they feel that we've not covered that they would just like to add just before this session ends, or if you're happy that everything's been mentioned. We all good?
I think it's good. I just say that those of you who have an offer, we look forward to welcoming you to the University of Glasgow in September. We've got exciting programs coming from the School of Molecular Biosciences. So, I think we've got some great training here for you, and we look forward to meeting you then.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thanks to all of you for taking some time out of your busy days to join us, and thanks for everybody that's watched. As I said, we will be sending the recording out, so if you've missed anything, there was a lot of information there. You can watch that in your own time. And yeah, like Cheryl said, we hope to see you all in September. So thank you and bye-bye.
Thanks, Naomi.
Bye.